All right, before we begin, I just want to mention that I changed my IDE settings so that I have the light background rather than the dark mode. Just makes it easier to see. So if you're wondering if this video goes with the other ones, it does. I just I decided to switch back to the light mode. So what are we doing today? We're looking at collectibles, things that Zool collect that will allow him to open up the portal to go on to the next level. Question is, what do we need to add? So we're just going to add little candies everywhere. We're not going to spend the time differentiating between each of the different types of candies. We're just going to have it randomly select pictures of the candies, but they're all worth the same amount. So we're going to create these objects. First thing we need to create is the thing that kind of let's just call it object collect, the thing that we're going to collect. So I go to my objects menu. And we're going to start using some of the new sprites that we used or that we just created. So I think this would be under miscellaneous. So we're going to use the same structure we've used up here for sprites. I just want to make sure these are in the right spot. Yeah. So we're going to make an object collect. It means we have to create some new groups. So I'm going to add this group called miscellaneous. And then we'll create a new object, and we'll call it object collect. Which sprite should we use? We'll use the collection sprite here. It's actually multiple frames. And then we also want to create a couple other objects in this group. One's called object 100 points. So we'll create that here. So obj underscore 100 points. And we'll use the 100 point sprite under miscellaneous. Yay. And then finally, we'll create the Twinkle Effect. It's the first time I've seen an effect actually be an object. And we use the Twinkle sprite. Okay, so we have our 3 new sprites now, or 3 new objects now. And then let's go back to collect. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a create event. So we add an event, create. Drag this over a bit. That same problem I have. The problem I finally figured it out is I have a trackball, and I'm trying to slide this window over, but usually you use your middle mouse click button. If you click on the middle button, hold it down, and then drag, then it allows you to slide it over. But since I don't have a middle button, I have this wheel. What I have to do is just grab the whole thing and pull it over. I guess I grab this one. Let's see if this will work. This is tedious. It keeps doing that. Yeah, so I guess if I just double click on it, it'll work. Okay, so now we have our window open. Now the question here is, do we want to use the graphic drag and drop interface or the GML? I think from this point forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay with the graphics drag and drop interface unless I can't do it with drag and drop, and then I'll switch into GML for that. If you want to do a pure GML system, you can always take a look at the GML afterwards. There's a way to see what it would look like in GML, and then you can look at that, and maybe I'll show you that and at the end of each one so that you can see. If you're a GML only type person, you can just do that. But what we want to do is here in our create event, we want to randomize the image a bit. And so the way we do that is, I guess we set the sub-image. So that's our variable, so assigned variable. And we'll call this one, well, I guess the variable name is image index. And the value we're going to use is, we're going to say random. And we'll pass in 7. So why do we choose 7? Well, if we look back at the sprite itself, you'll see that it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different images. But note that this is image 0, this is image 1. And so they start numbering at 0 rather than 1. Well, luckily random doesn't generate numbers from 1 to 7. It generates numbers from 0 to 6. So a lot of times people would think the random number generator, will go up to the number that you specify, but it's always one less than the number you specify. And then that should randomize the picture. Again, the picture doesn't matter. Really, it just gives some variety to the screen. And then we have to go back to Zool now. We're going to go to the Zool object. So regardless of what flavor of Zool we're looking at, we want him to react to a collision event with the collect item. So we're going to go to collision, and we're going to go to the collect object. And so what should happen there? Well, first thing we need to do is play the collect sound. Let's see if we have that sound. We don't. Okay, so we're going to have to go make that. Okay, so I'm going to make the sound now. Say create sound, and we want to choose sound from our list. Let's go out and look for it. Here's our, let's see, collect sound. We can play it here, see what it sounds like. A little distorted, but yeah, it seems to work. We'll just keep all this the same. We want to give it a meaningful name, so we'll call it SND_collect. Now we have our first sound. Now how do we associate that with the action of colliding with the collect object? Well, we go back to object Zool. And here's the collision event. First thing we do in the collision event is we want to play that sound. So let's check sound and see what, here's all the different sounds. Play audio. That's this one. And we're going to say the collect sound. We don't want it to loop. I'm not sure what the target's set to, but let's just leave that alone. And then we can, give this a try if we want. Let me get the game going. So I'm going to go into the room, and here's our rooms. And I'll add some of those to the actual room. Here's our collect object. And we're going to put those in the room. I think we just drag them in. We can put one there. Oh, I see. We got to make sure we're in the right layer. So we'll be in the instances layer. Let me zoom in a bit. And we're going to put some collectibles right here. So I'm going to drag this in. And we'll put one every once in a while. Now you might worry that, these are all going to look the same and it's not going to look very good. But remember, in our create event, what we're doing is we're randomizing the picture, so we'll get a different picture for each one. Kind of looks okay. Run the game. And we get something horrible. First of all, it continues to randomize. And a couple other things we forgot to do was we forgot to get rid of the collectible after we collided with it. So all we get is the sound played over and over, which creates a complete mess. Certainly that's not what you want. So how do we fix that? Well, we'll go back to the collision event here. And there's a couple of other things we have to do. Playing the sound is the first step. But next thing you need to do is we're going to change the collects object into the 100-point object. So again, we're changing objects here. Instance change, I guess it's called. Instance change. Let's just try change. There. Change instance. So we'll do that. Well, that was interesting. I double clicked on it and it magically appeared down here. What do we want to change to? Well, we want to change to the 100-point object. That's good. And then we also want to make sure we perform events when we do that. Doesn't give me an option to do that, though. It's interesting. Okay. So now all the action is going to happen in the create event of the instance change object, or in the 100-point object. So now that we've changed objects, let's go over there. So we made that object here. We're adding a create event. And what should happen when the collectible gets changed into the 100-point object? Well, first thing we want to do is we want to increase the score by 100 points. So let's do that first. That's drawing set score. 100 in relative. And then now you want it to kind of float up. Okay, remember we want to float up, and to go up you have to go negative. So we're going to give it a vertical speed. So move fixed, maybe here. We'll go up. What's our speed? Used to be on the same screen, but let's see. Speed. So if we say vertical, see what we got. Nothing. Okay, speed. It's animation speed. Here's the movement speed. Which direction we want to go? We'll just go in the direction that we've already set. We want to go up, and our speed is 0.5. And it's not relative, so don't click on that. And then we want this to, as it floats up, we want it to disappear after a certain amount of time. And what we want to do is make it disappear after 1 second. And so I think we've set a room speed to 30, so it'll be 30 steps. So we'll set that alarm. Use alarm 0, count down to 30. So count from 30 to 0 once per frame. And then once the alarm goes off, that's a separate event. A lot of people get the two confused where they set the alarm and then they try to do the actions to that when the alarm goes off in the same place, and that doesn't work here in GameMaker. So I'm going to drag this over if I can. Doesn't look like I can. Okay, and we're going to add an alarm event, alarm 0. So what should happen when alarm 0 goes off? Basically, we're going to change it into the Twinkle sprite, the Twinkle object. So another change instance, I guess. Or I guess they call it instance change. There it is. And we're changing into Twinkle this time. So we go through two transitions here. Here's Twinkle, which means now we have to jump over to the Twinkle object and add a create event there. What should happen in the create event? Well, Twinkle is a animated sprite, so we're going to set the subimage to 0. So that would be the image index. Let's see if so I'll draw. Let's say set variable here. All right, so image index. We set that to 0 just to be careful. It probably defaults to 0 anyway, but just to be careful, we'll set it to 0. And then we have to change the animation speed. So we set that. We're going to set it to 1. So it'll change every frame, I guess, which is pretty fast. And then at the end of the animation, so that would be back here, we add a animation end event, which is under other. And what do we want to do in animation end event? In the animation end event, we just want to delete it. And here we destroy instance. Make sure that it's associated with self, and then that should take care of the issue. So let's try it. I'm having trouble capturing the video, but what's going on is Zool is changing into a 100-point event, I think, and then just falling through the floor. So we had to be a little bit more careful when we do our change object. When we do this collision between Zool and the collect object, notice we do a change instance here. I was a little concerned here because I didn't see the perform events checkbox, but we also have to make sure that we're not changing ourselves, which is object Zool, into a collect object, but we want to say the other thing, which is the 100-point object. Let's see if that works a little bit better. Just replaying the game here. Ah, that's better. Okay, so here's Zool, and see how it floats up and then disappears after a while. It seems to work pretty well. So it looks like we've got the collectibles now being picked up, and then next time what we'll do is, well, there's a lot we have to do with collectibles still. I'm not sure if this will be next time, but what we have to do is keep track of them. Once we get to a certain percentage of collectibles collected, then that's when we open up the portal. So this is the first step, but then we have many steps to go after that. And just to satisfy my promise about showing the GML on all of these things, let's start with Object Zool's collision event with the collectible. That's this. What would that look like in GML? Well, the way you can do that is you can right-click here, and you can say convert to GML. Yeah, I don't want to convert it. I just want to look at it. So how to do that? Okay, so the way you do that is you right-click and you say Live Preview, and it shows you what this looks like in GML. So audio play sound. You play the sound, and then there's a couple of parameters going in. Probably one is, whether or not it repeats. The other is to change instance. We say with other, instance change, and you say what you want to change this to, and you want to perform events. So evidently in GML you can turn on the perform events flag, but you can't do that. Can't do that in the drag and drop version. Okay, and then the other objects. Here's the collect object. In its create event, what would that look like if we previewed it in GML? Basically just assigning a variable. Here's the 100-point object. Its create event, if we do live preview, it looks like this. Wow, look at that. So that was kind of gnarly. Look at that. Basically, yeah, they've got some kludge in here. And what they're trying to make sure is that the score exists before you try to add to it. So they're trying to avoid you crashing right here. If you hadn't created the score variable yet, then it would crash here when you try to add to it. So it tries to make sure that that's there. If it's not there, it creates it. And then it adds to it. And then here, and notice it has this weird thing. So that must be like a global variable of some sort that's system level. But here's our direction. Up, we set the speed to 5, and then we set the alarm. And then for the Twinkle object, oh, we weren't quite done with that one. There's the alarm event. And we're just doing a change object there. So what would that look like in GML? It's over here. I'm having my little drag and drop problem. Instance change, object Twinkle, true. And then here's object Twinkle. This is the create event. The live preview there. We just set the image index and the speed. And then finally, going back here, animation end event to destroy the instance of the object. We look at that. You just say instance destroy. So we see the GML equivalent going there. All right.